Before we get into the episode, we'd like to thank our newest Silver Monster patrons, Victoria Nielsen.
And the Great Bubbles.
Thank you.
Holy shit. Lucas, get over here.
What?
They found the witches. They're all dead.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Yeah, look.
Authorities in Virginia have finally identified the remains of the 12 bodies found last week in what some have dubbed the Bloodbath House. In a press conference held earlier today, police announced that the victims were the 12 members of the True Dawn cult. The victims, including ringleader Melinda Searle, were all wanted in the ritual murder of Annie Abrams that made headlines 2 years ago. The group was last seen near the site of the murder in Gallup, New Mexico, before the start of the nationwide manhunt and their inclusion on the FBI's Most Wanted list. Authorities also stated that they do not currently have any suspects and would not comment on whether or not the deaths may be related to the Abrams murder. Anyone with potential information has been asked to call the
Bloodbath House? What are they talking about?
Okay, so I hadn't heard about it either, but I just looked it up. It's been all over the news, at least back in the States. Last week, the cops found all these dead bodies in this one house. It was a complete massacre. Literally, blood and guts everywhere. Their bodies were torn apart. I guess it took them this long to, put the pieces together, figure out how many bodies there were, and then identify them.
Wow. Good.
That's it? Good?
You're right. Great.
Aren't you at all curious about what happened to them?
Nope. Couldn't have happened to a more deserving group of people. What? What else do you want me to say? They sold drugs, killed Annie, who knows what else? Probably pissed off the wrong person. Or another coven or a gang or something. Maybe they all killed each other. Who cares? I'm glad they're dead.
Oh, well, alright then. In that case, I guess we'll just call this, what, closure?
Yeah, something like that. We were still in Indonesia at this point. We'd been here for a few days following a wave of sightings and attacks caused by a still unknown species. Our first attempt at finding the culprit brought us instead to the Orang Bati, an entirely separate creature that Mia could tell was not behind the attacks. So it was back to investigating. Since sightings were coming from all over the region, we traveled to another nearby island and basically started again from scratch.
If you've got these psychic powers, can't you just use it to track these things down?
Not how it works. It does get stronger when they're close, but it's not something I can actively search for. And it doesn't happen with every cryptid either.
Too bad. Could have made things a lot easier.
Sometimes it does.
If you want to find these things ASAP, we can't just keep island hopping and hoping for the best.
I know.
We should split up. Faulkner, see if you can track down any of the witnesses. Me and I can scout out more locations.
I'm on it.
So we split up. Hopefully this way we would be as productive as possible. Mia and I once again drove around the island and looked for any promising places to start our investigation. We finally reconvened around dinner.
I couldn't find anyone that would talk to me.
Really? There's been so many witnesses. You couldn't find any of them?
Oh, I found them, but no one would talk. Everyone's spooked.
Spooked?
We're not the only foreigners asking around. And apparently, the others haven't been nearly as charming as me.
Think it's the Ordo?
Damn it, yeah, probably.
I thought you said they stay in the U.S.
They mostly stick to the U.S. A wave of sightings this big, though, it's gotta be on their radar.
Great. Just another thing to worry about.
If the Ordo really was in town, I was in trouble. Thankfully, though, we would probably have enough warning if they were close by. Between their dress code and aggressive attitude, they tended to stick out in a crowd. I wanted to see this case through, so we weren't going to leave, but I was going to start keeping a lower profile. As long as they were in the area, I wouldn't be going out in public again. You think the beard is enough of a disguise? Maybe I should get, I don't know, a hat and glasses?
I mean, I wouldn't exactly call it a beard.
Hey.
But, yeah, assuming they're not actively looking for you, I think you look different enough.
Okay, good.
Now, Fritz? We should definitely get a little hat and sunglasses for her.
We decided to just camp in the jungle for the time being. The longer we were actually out there, the better chance of finding these creatures and getting to the bottom of this. Not to mention less chance of running into any Ordo agents. So we left our hotel and ventured out into one of the areas Mia and I thought would be suitable. It was dark by this point, so we just started to look for any sign of the creatures.
Could I ask you something?
Sure.
I know you talked about your dad before. Was it just you two growing up?
Yeah.
Oh, so did your mom...
Died when I was a kid, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hang on.
We don't have to keep talking about it.
No. Look here.
What?
These tracks. It's not what we're after, but it's something.
What do you mean?
He's right. Look at the size of them. And all these crushed plants.
You don't think it could be, I don't know, an elephant or a rhino?
Not really. Their populations are so low around here that a cryptid is honestly just as likely. More importantly, though, I'm pretty sure whatever made these tracks was bipedal. What do you think?
I'd say you're probably right.
Who knew these islands were crawling with monsters?
The prints were large, more than a foot long, and mostly circular with some small claw marks around the edge. We decided that coming across the trail of yet another cryptid was too good an opportunity to pass up, so we would take a slight detour to try and find the source of these tracks. It was almost dawn by now, and we made camp just so we could get a few hours of sleep before continuing. We really need to track down more big cryptids. These prints have all been pretty easy to spot.
You say that now, but it won't be any fun if we find something dangerous.
Fair point.
But you're right, it would be easier.
We continued tracking it for the rest of the day, and just after dark, we finally found it. Even though it had gotten dark out, it was pretty hard to miss.
Wait, stop. I think that's it.
Where?
In front of that tree.
That's an animal?
Yeah.
Ahead of us, nestled at the base of an ancient tree, was a large, round shape covered in scales. It looked like some kind of gigantic pine cone.
Hang on. I think it's moving.
If it's nocturnal, must be waking up.
What is it?
Looks like a pangolin?
Yeah. Damn. Sims had a pangolin on his wish list. He probably would have paid me a fortune if he knew this thing existed.
Just when I start to forget what an asshole you really are. Thanks for reminding me.
Sorry, Miller. It's just the nature of the business.
Whatever.
And that was that. We had successfully found, well, whatever it was. As soon as we got somewhere with decent reception, I started researching. Okay, you want the good news or the bad news?
Good, I guess?
I got a match. The creature we encountered is called the Veo. There's almost nothing in the way of legends or sightings, but it is literally described as a pangolin the size of a horse.
Okay, cool. Then what's the bad news?
The other creatures we're looking for? As of last night, I think they finally killed someone.
Field notes. Veo. The Veo appears to be a giant pangolin, which I guess is a little unclear since there is actually a species called the giant pangolin. Let me rephrase that. The Veo is a very large member of the pangolin family, which makes sense given how many cryptids are just larger versions of normal animals. It measured roughly 6 feet tall at the shoulders and 14.5 feet long. The largest normal pangolins only reach 3 to 4 feet long, though there were prehistoric pangolins up to 9 feet long. Either way, the Veo is still larger. The other big difference between the Veo and normal pangolins is in its gait. Pangolins are quadrupedal and can occasionally walk on their hind legs. The Veo was strictly bipedal though, and had much smaller front legs. As for coloring, its scales were a bright yellow that faded to brown, and its skin was a dark gray. It's actually pretty similar in appearance to the long-tailed pangolin. We didn't see the creature eating, but given that its head and mouth seemed pretty much identical to other pangolins, they likely have a similar diet. Pangolins are insectivores that use sticky saliva to trap ants and termites on their tongue. Although, given the size of the Veo, it's also possible that it could supplement its diet with other foods. The creature wasn't aggressive, and I'm not surprised. Between its size, its claws, and its scales, it probably doesn't have any natural predators. That must be nice. End field notes.
The Cryptid Cases has been a production of Little Giant Monsters. Find out more about us at littlegiantmonsters.com and by searching for Little Giant Monsters on social media. Every Monday after a new episode, we share a cryptid sketch, so be sure to look out for that. If you're enjoying the Cryptid Cases and want to help support us, find us on Patreon. Rewards include behind-the-scenes content, early access to episodes, and access to our Discord. A huge thanks to all our current patrons. Links to our Patreon, our merch, and other shows we're creating are all available on our website or in the description of this episode. Another way to support our work is through ratings and comments on Apple Podcasts and other podcast apps. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.